Nicholas, is it your first time to Hong Kong?
I think I've been to Hong Kong, I think 5 times. I used to go a lot when I was much younger, when I had friends who worked for Jardine Maths and had very, very good times on the Peak. I also conceived my first child in the Macau suite at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel.
Wow.
With great difficulty, it must be said, because this suite came complete with one of those personal butlers. And every time my wife and I were about to set to work on this important task, he would appear with ice. And so we very nearly didn't. But I've got this special connection.
Is that incident in any one of your novels?
Everything that I do in my life is in every one of my novels.
You've written so many novels. I mean, people know you as a publisher. People live in awe because you are the managing director of the great house of Condé Nast. But secretly, you are a novelist, and I think you've written about 7 novels. Isn't that right?
It is. I've done, I think, 15 books, but 7 of them were fiction.
Exactly.
And I'm a little bit of a... you have to have a secret second life, I think, in this world. I don't play golf, so I write on Saturday and Sunday mornings. And my system is to get up very early, before the household is awake, and I write 1,000 words on Saturday and 1,000 words on Sunday. And you actually only have to do that for 2 years, and you've written a very, very thick novel.
Like what I think, that if I ran 3 miles a day, after about 15 years, I go around the equator.
It is the exact
yeah, but it's very long, yes. But do you find it soothing to write, or is it something that you've always wanted to do and that you were determined to do it, notwithstanding your day job?
Well, the truth is, I rather like having this parallel life, where you have like a second thing going on in your head, and where you're able to make up and control all the characters in your book. And I think I sometimes wonder, would I like to have written full time? And of course, there is a slight temptation to do that, and I think I could probably have done that. But I like too much the excitement and overexcitement and stimulation of going into a magazine office where I'm surrounded by hundreds of fantastically attractive women.
I know in Vogue House, I've never seen so many beautiful girls going in and out, although in this age of sexism, one is not supposed to talk about it.
Not only is one not supposed to touch, but one isn't supposed to even look.
Oh,
and I do sometimes consider myself lucky. I've got friends who went to work in the city, and they work in those big, sweaty dealing rooms with 700 men, all vastly rich. I work in an office where there's about 20 men, mostly who work in the post room, and then 680
you don't want to fancy
women.
Those. But listen, of the other 7 books that you've written other than your novels, what are they on mostly?
I did 2 large non-fiction books. One called The Fashion Conspiracy, which is the only book I've ever written which had the distinction of being the #1 bestseller for 1 week in the Sunday Times. Yes. However, I kept the clipping just to remind myself it happened. And I did a huge book called Paper Tigers, which actually was partly set in Hong Kong, where I interviewed all the newspaper owners of the world, in the States, in Europe, in Hong Kong, in India, etc., which was a considerable tome.
What was the conclusion in your book on fashion? What was this conspiracy? What is the conspiracy?
The fashion book started in some of the sweatshops in Korea and in South India, where they were doing the beading for very expensive clothes. And then it followed the progress of the way that the industry works, and ended up going through all the rich people who buy them, and then ended up in this fantastic dry cleaners which I found in Kuwait, which was full of the most amazing couture clothes that had cost tens of thousands of pounds each, and which the Arab princesses who'd bought them had worn them once, sent them to be cleaned, and never bothered to collect them. And that's where this long journey ended.
Well, there it is. But are you looking forward to returning to Hong Kong? When was the last time you were there?
I don't think I've been to Hong Kong for 10 years.
Oh, you were there after the handover?
Yeah, I've been since the handover.
Yes.
One time, and I think I went about a year after. I'm dying to see it again. I'm hoping it hasn't changed too much, because I liked it like it was before.
No, as well, is richer and more prosperous and more vulgar, I suppose. The people of Hong Kong would love to hear your view, I'm sure, not only on writing, but also in the way in which your magazines have suddenly appeared. The Chinese edition of Vogue, the Chinese edition of this and the Chinese edition of that. Do you regard China as a huge market?
China for Condé Nast has become, in the last 10 years, an extremely important market. It's going to be one of the big markets for us, along with America and Italy and Britain. The appetite amongst this growing Chinese audience to buy fashion magazines and to take part in the growth of luxury fashion and luxury goods is phenomenal.
Do you have a temptation to write a novel about this whole thing, like the parody of one of your colleagues, Miss Anna Wintour in The Devil of the
Wears
Prada, or whatever it is called? I mean, would there be a Nicholas Wears the Gucci or whatever?
Well, throughout my entire professional life, I've always flown very, very close to the wind. But I'm not going to fly so close as to write a book with anyone too like Anna Wintour in it. That, I think, would be too much of a suicide mission, even for me.
I'm sure that somebody in the audience will ask you about her and ask you about lots of things about the fashion. But I hope that they will also have read, and I'm sure that there are many people who have read your novels, and that they will ask you about your novels. So my final question is this, is that in your novel, is there a overriding theme, and are you working on the latest one, which is slightly different or more or less the same of the same?
Well, I like writing and have been writing big multi-character sagas, usually over about 25 to 30 years. I guess they're normally set in what you would call the high life, though not exclusively so. The new one that I'm writing about, the as yet untitled new novel, is like a modern-day version of Vanity Fair, the novel, and has a character rather like Becky Sharp, the priceless Becky Sharp, but a modern-day version. Her name
I just named her as one of my fictional characters to want to have dinner with. The dead one, I said Emperor Qianlong and Bertrand Russell, perhaps. But Becky Sharp, definitely.
I feel we've both of us had many dinners with modern-day Becky Sharp in our lifetime.
She must have been incredibly attractive.
I think she was definitely attractive. And so is Kath Fox, the fictional character in my new one, who goes on an enormous journey.
Is she ruthless? Is she a gold digger?
Certainly is. She is married to a newspaper tycoon and later to a member of the royal family and to a footballer. She goes through a long, ever upward ascent.
Yes, well, there it is. But I must say, in Vanity Fair, I always felt slightly for Becky Sharp. I was always somehow on her side. I don't know why, but I mean, she was absolutely ruthless, but there was a gentler side and a rather attractive side to her.
No, she's very lovable. And of course, the other extraordinary thing about Vanity Fair is that the other main character is called George Osborne, the same as our Chancellor of the Exchequer. So it only shows everything goes round.
And does George Osborne appear as George Osborne as a character and in name in your new novel?
George is not going to be appearing in my new novel, though of course there are characters immensely like him.
Nicholas, thank you very much, and we'll much look forward to seeing you in Hong Kong.
Me too.